Big welcome to my wonderful guest today, who is Zodie Klempp, and she is from Alberta, Canada, all the way from over there. and she has a wonderful story to share that I think will be really inspiring and uplifting for people. I think one of the hardest things potentially to overcome would be sexual abuse. And Zodie has been through that experience as a child, and she has overcome that experience, transformed that experience, and she's really excited and happy to share with us how she has been able to really transform that experience and become the best version of herself. And I think that is such an inspiring journey for everyone to hear, because we don't all have to deal with such deep issues, dark issues as sexual abuse. And I think also that one of the major reasons why Zodie's here today, she has written a book that she would love to share with everyone. And the book is called, and I'll just share an image of it here on the screen with everyone. The book is called Miasm, Sexual Abuse, The Journey to Self-Enlightenment. And we're going to discuss this book, and we're going to discuss Zodie's journey. And so, Zodie, huge welcome to you. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Medina. I really appreciate this opportunity to meet with you today.
Thank you. It's wonderful. When I read your journey and your story and your bio, it really was a journey that resonated with me, because it led you to a very powerfully spiritually empowered position where you're able to really tap into so many gifts and abilities. And that really resonates with me, because I have such a spiritual focus myself, and so I think it's going to be a perfect talk for people today to inspire them on their own journey. So just to start with, Zodie, perhaps tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what inspired you to write this book.
So this book has, I started writing actually as a journal in about 2009. And so it's a compendium of a whole bunch of journals all mashed together. And in 2009, I had just separated from my husband, and my mom, who was my energy practitioner that I went to, she suggested, start journaling, get it out, get all the information, all those feelings. And so I started writing in my journal and capturing what was going on. So with the past, yes, I went through childhood trauma, and it had led me to a place of where it just kind of all crashed down and in life, and needed to find myself.
Yes.
It's always that journey of finding oneself. And through the writing of the journal or journals, about 12 years into it, in October of 2023, my guidance and intuition, it's time to start writing this book now. We've put it, I've had those little seeds of information. Oh, maybe you could write a book someday, or thought maybe this information is good for me. Would it be potentially good for others? Because I had learned so much through the whole process. And in October that was the time it says, okay, let's put this together and bring it forward to family, to friends, to the soul lineage of who I belong to, and it just a whole. It was so much, but it was a beautiful process. So it was very good. So
Can I ask? I'd love to ask the question. Do you think that without the experiences that you've been through, the depths of, having the sexual abuse and as a young person, that
mhm.
that it would have made you experience the incredible sort of transformative journey that you've accomplished without that? So you think that that was the activator potentially for really pushing you to work through all that and come to a place where you're thriving?
Yes. It's it's a huge transformation because at the beginning, when you're, you know, down and surviving and almost crawling because you're as low as you can go in your life, and to start, you know, standing up and maybe raising your head a little bit more, and the evolution of man, you know, how they're, you know, from crawling out of the water to standing upright to holding the head high, the whole transformation um, really really took a huge evolution in what a person can go through. So
Sure, sure.
um,
It shows you how resilient humans are, that they can overcome, the greatest challenges.
yes, and that's so important because, you know, at the beginning, when you're in survivor mode, you're not really with it. And when you can move and transform yourself through the process of healing that trauma, becoming awake, being embodied, your whole world just kind of opens up and you become present all over again and see that beauty that and your divinity within yourself that you didn't even know was even possible. So
Yeah,
it's quite a transformation when you look back, and, you know, being in that victimhood, and blame and all of that in the beginning, and seeing through to the other side through the healing that, um, when we look at our past lives and, you know, having that guidance and really, um, following yourself through your stages, it really, you look at life a little differently,
yeah.
and and it it's hard to explain.
But how important was the process of forgiveness in this whole journey as well?
The forgiveness part, huge.
Yes.
It's and not necessarily for my abuser, but for the family members that didn't step in. Um, uh, but the biggest part was for the forgiveness of self,
Yes.
and um, it was easier to forgive others than it was for myself in the end.
Yes.
And when I went through that forgiveness kind of little protocol, um, it just opens a person up and allows a light in that was so, you were so dim and dark for so long, and just that forgiveness, just it's a beautiful process. It's a
Yes,
beautiful process.
lovely. So, what's your life now as compared to at the start of your journey? Like, how wonderful is your life if you can share with us that, that contrast that you've experienced?
Um, so again, full of guilt, full of shame, full of darkness, full of lies, full of lying to yourself, and kind of changing those masks that you have to put on while you're, you know, oh, it's okay, or
I'm
I'll be
fine.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine. And um and not being present for your children when they're growing up, because your mind, you have escaped your mind.
Mhm.
You have,
Well, you
you
often
know,
go outside your body when you're in pain or trauma, don't you? And you're not even in your body.
absolutely, absolutely, you escape out the hatch,
Yes,
and you're not grounded, or you're either living in the upper halves of your chakras, or you're living in your lower parts of your chakras, and very emotional, and so you're just discombobulated. You're here, but you're not here. You're in body, but you're not. You're just breathing.
sure.
You're just breathing.
Existing. Just
It's
existing.
just existing.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I hear you. I hear you. Yes, I know people that are listening could relate to this, I'm sure. Um,
Yeah.
so now in your journey, you've become an integrative trauma practitioner and energy practitioner, and you
Yes.
help others who have been through this. And I think that's such an important thing, that once we have experienced something, it's often so we can then help other people who are going through the same thing. And
Yeah.
so now with your practice of working with that, perhaps
Mhm.
share a little bit about that, and before we talk a bit more about the book.
So in I'm clairaudient. So what that means is that I can connect with my higher self, my guidance system, uh, clearly as we are talking now. Um, in 2019, I wanted to take a master conscious channeling course, just to have the accreditation for the work that I had been working on for the previous 10 years of channeling and journaling. And I found this wonderful lady in the States, and she had this master channeling course. But in order to do it, I had to take two prerequisite courses, one on setting your chakras and grounding, and one clearing energy. And those had to be done prior to entry into the master conscious channeling course. And the first course uh, broke broke me wide open. I was like, I can take responsibility for myself. I can control um, my emotions, um, the crown chakra. We base our settings on percentages opening up and closing down of our chakras. And so, when my crown chakra was like wide open, and then all of a sudden I could close it down, and come back into my body and be present, I was like, oh, if I can do this, uh, I think I need to become a practitioner, and help others that are in that same situation, because I've read a lot of self-help books, how to reach your guides, how to, meditate, and uh, there was never really a piece on embodiment, and or I just missed it and did not tune into the fact that you have to have a practice that is whole and um, has a little bit more guidelines, because I was doing it so organically and self-taught, and with the trauma on top of that, I just opened myself up, and to the detriment, but looking back also um, in a good way, because although I did everything wrong, uh, I had that opportunity to learn all my lessons so that I can take that information and help those in the future with all the things that could go wrong. I've done them, so.
Sure, exactly. So that's the thing, isn't it? You do it wrong, and then you know how to help other people because you know where you've gone
Yeah,
off track, and that really helps you with your teaching. And they say
yeah,
there's nothing like experience to be able to truly teach others. That would make you, yeah, a wonderful teacher, I imagine. So,
yeah.
so Zodie, how did you come to the point where you decided that you needed to write a book? Were you a writer before this? Had you written other things, or was this something completely new for you?
It was new. The journal writing, like I started that early on and always did the journal writing. Uh, I had a lot of people that had kind of come into my life and said, I think you're going to write a book. These little, very intuitive people coming in. I think you're going to write a book someday. I'm like, nah, but inside you're like, oh, that would be so awesome. But,
Yes.
um,
You
and,
didn't have
and
formal training at all, at all? No?
yeah,
Oh, oh,
yeah. So
oh, so you didn't have like a formal training at all for writing? No, no.
no,
Wow.
it, um, I started blogging on my website once I formed, the business. I, went through a practitioner course with this group that was in the States, and opened a business with my husband. And then our website developer, she's like, oh yeah, and here's where you can do blogs. And I'm like, ooh, I have to do a blog now. And then I was like, okay, well, I have some wonderful writing that I do in my journaling every day, and I made the intention, okay, let's write something that we can start building blogs on. And the blog writing turned into passages for the book. It was so amazing, because here I'm writing these blogs and putting them onto the website. And then I get okay, it's time to write a book. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm guided, okay, we're going to start building this framework of this book. And my guidance is saying, okay, go grab this blog. That's going to be in this chapter. Go grab this blog. It's going to be in this chapter. We're going to write an introduction. We're going to do this. And it was a wonderful experience.
Mhm.
And I had a huge amount of help in writing the book. So
Oh,
it was a wonderful process. Yeah.
so is the structure basically the journey from being very little to this to where you are today? Tell us a little bit about the outline of the book, or the structure, how it's sort of put together in terms of the journey.
Um, so I start with kind of defining miasm.
And
So
I'll put it up on the screen as you're talking as well, if that's okay,
yeah.
just so people can see. Here it is.
So miasm wasn't a word that I had um, really understood. We had to, and I speak we because that's kind of the language that I speak with my guidance, is that they brought this title to me, miasm, and I'm I'm like, you're gonna have to explain this. And so they said it in basic terms, it's a business, it's an energetic business of accomplishing a theme throughout your life. A lot like similar to the karma, having a karmic theme. And so I started researching. Edgar Casey came up with miasm, an original, I think one of the original parts of our literature that talks about miasm, and a couple other writers. So I was doing my research for that, trying to gather in that information. So chapter 1 is about describing the miasm, um, and and then let's see, chapter 2 was
Or even just, a general overview.
yeah, it moves into a dark night of the soul. I have a chapter on that. We started early on after I had separated and kind of started declining. It was a decline, but it was also a beautiful, hopeful experience, knowing that I was going to discard an old part of myself and um, come through something that was necessary for where I needed to go. A
And
lot of this is retrospective.
that on our journeys of empowerment, often we are leaving old relationships behind, or relationships that no longer serve us, when coming out of old marriages and that sort of thing. I
Yeah.
often see that as one of the major journeys for empowerment of people is to be able to have those boundaries with relationships that no longer serve them, where your energies are just discordant. They're no longer aligning, and it's not
Yeah.
serving your own evolution by staying with that person. So that is
Mm.
very much often part of the process of our journey to empowerment, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah.
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 Mine was all about being happy. I had a key person in my life that gave me this divine question and said, "Are you happy?" And I couldn't answer it. And I, whew. And then, I went home after that vacation, and husband, my first husband came up to me. He says, "Are you happy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah." Put the mask on.
Mhm.
And then the next morning, woke up. Nope, not happy.
Yes.
And from that point forward, it kind of snowballed, but in such a beautiful way. Like it was an enlightenment path. It's not a pretty, it's not necessarily pretty, but it can be very destructive
Mm.
in a way,
Yeah.
but also beautiful in the same way, and wouldn't want it to change any other way. So
Fantastic. So, what is the major message in this wonderful book that you've written for people?
Healing can take place anytime. I know I was listening to some of your podcasts and interviews, and you said divine timing, and divine timing has come up in my life so many times, that there's a time, there's a place, there's with a person, there's everything will lay out how it's supposed to, and healing will take place. Everybody has that opportunity to choose to heal in this lifetime or not. But we're at a time in this life, and kind of the evolution of when we're all light workers ready to heal, and this is our last lifetimes to do so. We've done all of our exploring, we've done all of our research, we've gone down to the darkest places and the darkest parts of ourselves to learn who we are. And it's time to bring that light in, bring that healing in,
That's the
stay
next.
embodied.
Yes, such a good point.
Stay,
That we don't have the time to just continue and procrastinate and just do the same that we've always done. It's now time to really move to the next level, and to let go of any trauma or any wounding that has held us back. And that's, like you say, the divine timing in terms of the evolution of Mother Earth as well. And
mm-hmm.
and so I think that's a fantastic point that you've made there, that it is the divine timing for us to do this as well. And
Yeah.
who do you think will most benefit in terms of the readers that choose to read your book? Who do you think that it's really sort of targeted to, this type of book?
Um, I wrote it for my family, but my family is so extended. All of we're all connected in a certain way. We've all had these soul lineages that we're exploring, but we're still taking in information from everybody else's journeys as well, So, um, yes, for those that have gone through sexual abuse, definitely that would be someone that may gravitate to this, just to know more about themselves. There's also, the family supportive roles that we have a lot of family members that witness kind of that abuse of loved ones, and want to know a little bit more and understand that. Those that are on a spiritual journey, no matter what we talk about, connecting with our divine self, and going through the dark night of the soul, that might intrigue somebody that may be on that. And my journey, there was points where my mental health really declined, and I was hospitalized because of psychosis, for the decline in my health and not looking after myself. And there's some points in the book that speak to spiritual emergence or spiritual emergency, which happens.
Okay.
And So there's a little bit of everything in there, on a journey where there is trauma. So
And I think too, when people go through these big, like you mentioned, psychosis, or these big, nervous breakdowns, they say the percentage of people that have nervous breakdowns is like 1 in 3, a third of the
mhm.
population, things like that, all that sort of thing. That when you look at other indigenous cultures, they see that as part of the spiritual journey in your evolution. They don't see it from the psychiatric Western perspective. Oh, there's something dreadfully wrong with you and you need to be fully medicated. They see it as part of your journey,
Yeah.
in order to really grow as a soul, that you have these sort of dark nights of the soul and these times. How long was your dark night of the soul? How long did that go for?
Quite a long time.
Yes.
I kind of went into it, um, probably for a couple weeks. I was madly journaling and kind of in and out of psychosis and not sleeping well, um and and then I ended up having to go to the hospital.
Yes, yes.
And I had to go to the psych ward for a couple weeks and get on some medication.
Because that's how
And
the Western
then
world deal with those things.
that's how they do it. Yes.
Yes, yes.
And funny thing when the doctor says, "Do you hear any voices?" And you're like, "Well, yeah, I do."
You don't necessarily want to tell them.
But it's like I can't say anything because you know it's yeah, I'd like to kind of get out of the hospital. So like
That's right.
so
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
uh, and how we talked, where I had to do the hard things first so that I learned my lessons. I did kind of relapse in a way, with my self-care. I had to really learn a self-care program.
Yes.
And there was a time where I put it to the side and thought, oh yeah, I'm fine now. And then I just, oh, back to the hospital. And then it's like, and when I arrived the second time, I was like, not going to happen again. It,
Yes.
it was, it was a wake up again. So although I kind of snuck into it again, it was like, okay,
Just a
we're
reminder
good
that you
now.
have
I got
to.
my lesson. Thanks.
That's it, exactly. Well, you're such a shining light now. You can see what a shining light you are, and
Oh,
that ability to get to that point now has been that process that you've gone through. And it takes strength, courage, resilience, so my hat goes off to you and everyone who goes through that process. I mean, myself, I also have been through some very challenging times, in my life in order to get where I am now. And I think, well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all that experience. I wanted to mention that you have on the information for your book there, and all
yeah,
the information is below in the description for people that want to order the book. It's all below in links for people to order. So tell us
beautiful.
a bit about it. It says it's a bestseller. So how did that happen? That's exciting.
Well, the group that I'm working with,
Yes.
it's a self-published book,
Yes.
but the group that I'm working with, uh, very instrumental in helping that happen. So it was
That's
an Amazon bestseller
wow.
for uh, self-help abuse, and then also awards for memoir. And there was one more. I can't remember what it was. So
Oh, well done. That's brilliant.
yeah,
How does it
thanks.
feel for the book to go out to touch other people's lives? How does that feel for you?
Um, it feels really amazing, and I'm hooked because I, of course, want to write more and
Yes.
put more out. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a wonderful experience, and there was times where I thought, oh, I can't do that. That's not possible. And then when I saw the writing process on how we put it all together, it was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
What are some of the best comments you've got from people about how the book has, touched their lives?
Um, I had a family member that said that it was powerful.
Yes.
And just to even have a family member read it, because that's who I wrote it for, keeping them in mind. So that really touched me. That made it good because, I didn't know how many people would read because it's a title that's can be very sensitive to a lot.
Yes.
But
Also
just having
appeal.
one person,
Yeah.
like I was so excited. So yeah.
And also appeal to people who have been through that experience themselves. So they'll be able to straight away relate to that. So
Yeah.
um, how important is it, in terms of the journey of breaking the cycle for these things, these you know, lineages where abuse has potentially been ongoing for many generations. Tell us about the breaking of the cycle and how that happens.
Well, hmm, there's
Or maybe how the book is contributing to that.
so with my deep dive into knowing who I was, I went into the Akashic records and went into my pre-birth plan. And when I went in there and looking at my soul extensions and reading my soul extensions,
What are soul
I
extensions?
could.
Just for the audience a minute.
So, soul extensions, we have 12 soul extensions of ourselves. They're aspects, people call them aspects of themselves. These are timelines that run at different times forwards and backwards in the future, all these different timelines that
Potentials?
potentials.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And there's many terms that people talk about how they are, and um there's so it's discovering these and I call them my multis even. They're my multis of me. Um, we and deep diving into the shadow work. When we go in that arena, um, you have to kind of know the dark sides and the dark parts of ourselves that until you understand those parts, can you really see the light in ourselves? And it gives you a whole different perspective of judgment on others when you know that there's times where you were the dark person, you were the one that were leading and um you know
Mm,
so like the dark parts of our human nature, we've all been there,
yes.
and we haven't been these cherubs sitting on clouds our entire lives. We've had a whole journey understanding our egoic paths that one can take and exploring. We're explorers and scientists and wanting to know what love is not. I think that was right from the beginning when we talk about kind of that separation from source. We were given that opportunity of, we have love. Everybody knows what love is, but the question came up, what's not love? And our scientific nature wants us to know more about that. And I think we can take a dark, deep dive in um, those emotions and experiences. We're here to experience, but the consciousness is very alive to possibilities, and so that we can come out the other side knowing that we say, "Ooh, we've done enough."
Mm.
I've seen, how humiliating, how painful, how what I've done in my past, and can say, okay, we're done. Let's move to the light. We're all done.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's powerful. Yes, fantastic. Um, so you talked about how when you finished this book, you had another book there in ready to go. So I'm interested to learn what's the next phase for you in terms of that.
So at the back of my book, I wrote that I was going to go into more origins and look into the alcoholism kind of theme, because that showed up in my family as well. And we started writing again, but it took a turn, and it's still origins. Like I am back to my origin life, Egyptian. I know that yeah, you may have your own lineage that takes you back there.
Yes,
Um, uh, and mine does too. So it's going back to that origin life, and exploring what made the choice that I needed to go explore and find out more about, and on more exploratory into that lineage of that miasm, karmic business of sexual abuse. So it heads that way. It goes back.
right, sure, absolutely. Well, I think it's a wonderful contribution to the collective, and I thank you for taking that journey. So, are there any other important things that you'd like to share with the audience here at Arise Humanity before you go? Anything else that you think is important to, perhaps, any sort of wisdom or final words that you'd like to share?
Um, thank you. Thank you for that opportunity. I think the biggest thing is there's whole communities that are willing to help individuals that are looking for a different venue or a different way of healing. Um, you do it your way. Your tribe will appear the way that you imagine it to. It's all intention. Life works with intention. Um, Speak it, say it, how whatever you need, whatever help you need. The universe is listening. Um, and there's divine timing in all of this. Stay embodied, stay grounded, have good self-care. Oh, self-care, beautiful. Everybody needs it. Looking after oneself. Um, there, a person can find themselves again if they feel that they're lost. Um, you
Beautiful.
are divine. You um, finding the divinity in yourself. It's
Mhm.
an amazing process.
Fantastic. And
Yeah, thank
you've
you.
done the journey, so well done to you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a big journey, big journey. So Zodie, where can people find your book? Just to finish, share with us. It's on Amazon, I've
It's
noticed.
on Amazon.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Um, all the it can be ordered, I think, through the Barnes and Noble, all those different publishing places.
fantastic.
Um, yeah, that's the easiest way. That's the easiest way.
Fantastic. And you have a beautiful website too, which we shared earlier. So I'll share that again, the link for that one. And
Great.
that
Thank you.
is your the spelling of your name, which is Zodie Klempp. So that's ZodieKlempp.com. And that
Yep.
sounds Dutch to me, the Dutch.
It's German.
Oh, German. Okay. My surname's German too, Labakens. Okay, lovely. It's a beautiful picture of you there. Information about
Thank you.
Zodi. And then, as well as the book, of course, you have other video on there. You've got other newsletter information about all the blogs that you talked about earlier. So if anyone
Mhm.
wants to go there and check out Zodi's website as well. And maybe people know somebody who's been through the experience similar to this, or something that could be inspiring for people that are going through their own journey, and to share this book with others. So I hope that this book continues to have wonderful success. Thank you, and good luck with your next book, Zodie. I'd love to potentially talk to you about your next book too when it comes out. And
Excellent. That would be lovely. Thank you,
lovely.
Medina.
Keep me posted. And it was wonderful to chat with you today, Zodie. Thank you for your
Right.
beautiful shining light.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.